What's going on, guys? So, I have been playing a little bit of Salt and Sanctuary in my spare time. I'm now just starting my New Game Plus playthrough here, as you can see. And I was wondering for a while now whether or not this was really something that I was going to upload to the channel or not and talk about. And because of all of the downtime that we have in between now and Dark Souls 3 on April 12th, I'm looking for something to do basically in between now and then on the channel. And I'm not sure how long I'll be keeping Salt and Sanctuary up. I'm not really sure if I'll do a full playthrough on the channel or not. In fact, I've honestly never finished like a full playthrough of any game on the channel. That's really something that I do so sparingly, and the only playthroughs that I ever plan on finishing, hopefully one of these days, will be Final Fantasy VI and Silent Hill 2. Those are, two of my favorite games of all time, so one of these days, I swear to God, I'm going to sit down and just play them out, get it all recorded, and, even if I don't do live commentary for it like that, and that's the thing, with Silent Hill 2, the live commentary during the playthrough, I don't think it's really, it's not comfortable for me. I really don't like live commentary. I've done some in the past for Dark Souls 2, I did some for Invasions, and while it's kind of fun, I think it just I'm so focused on immersing myself in the games while I play that live commentary really takes me out of it. And even when it's at its best for me, there's still a percentage of me that's not invested in the game enough, and I'm just not fully immersed. So I just don't know if live commentary is going to be for me. And, for the rest of Silent Hill 2 and FF6, just in the, in the spirit of finishing those series properly, I think I might just play through the rest of the games without live commentary. FF6, that's not a big deal because I haven't even done live commentary, but for a handful of episodes for that one. But for Silent Hill 2, I've done everything with live comm, so it's going to completely change the vibe for the rest of the series. But I'd really like to go ahead and just get those finished. But also, where did I get started on that little rant? I think I was talking about if I was going to finish Salt and Sanctuary on the channel. I'm pretty sure that's how we got launched into this. Anyway, Salt and Sanctuary, let me talk about that for a little bit. My first playthrough of the game, I really enjoyed it. I will say that probably about 90% or more of my deaths were to fall damage. You're probably not going to see much of that going on in this one. There's not too much platforming early on in the game. Not until maybe the end of the second and possibly the beginning of the third or fourth episode would you see any kind of my struggles with platforming. And believe me, I have struggles in this game. The platforming gets pretty ridiculous the later you go. You kind of get power-ups as you go along through the game, these things called brands, and they allow you to travel through different spaces and move through air more quickly, which allows you to make some pretty crazy platforming jumps throughout the game. There's also some interactable objects, and I'll probably point some out because I think that in the end of this episode you will probably see at least one of those. And there's a lot of stuff like that throughout the game where you're going through it early on and you can't necessarily access some of these things because you don't have the necessary brands yet. So it's a constant battle, for me at least, of keeping mental notes like, okay, I need to come back here, once I figure out how to interact with this object, because this might take me to a new area, or this might, lead me to some treasure, shit like that, right? So, yeah, a lot of my deaths were to fall damage. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little salty a few times, just because there are quite a few areas that are so heavy with the platforming, and I really should have seen that coming, right? Anytime you're playing a 2D game like this, one should really expect quite a bit of platforming. But obviously there's a lot of Souls type aspects within the game. The way you level up, the way that you kind of make builds, the way that certain weapons have different scaling with various stats like dex, strength, magic, stuff like that. Very similar to the Souls games. Obviously, I just knelt at a shrine there. Very similar to the Souls bonfires. So, lots and lots of the Souls games. I'm using blood vials to heal myself right now. I found myself the Bloodborne Covenant of this game, which is pretty cool. This Covenant seems to be pretty damn OP, by the way. I was in the Wood Wraiths, I believe they're called, and basically what I got from those guys... Oh, and here's something, now that I'm thinking about this, here's something that I really like, that's unique to Salt and Sanctuary that the Souls games really don't have. In Salt and Sanctuary, anytime you... First of all, whenever you're in a Covenant, and anytime you kneel at a shrine to refresh your healing items and whatnot, if you are in a Covenant, and if you're kneeling at a shrine that belongs to that Covenant, and furthermore, if you have increased fame, I believe is what it's called. Maybe that's the wrong terminology entirely, but basically you get reputation with your Covenant for for turning in certain items to a Covenant leader. And here's the cool thing with Salt and Sanctuary. As you turn in these items... Oh man, these fucking bats are annoying. But as you turn in certain items, you can unlock these refreshable items that you can put in your quick slots. For instance, you can get weapon buffs, right? So every time you sit down at a shrine, you refresh your consumable weapon buff, which is pretty awesome. So not only are you filling up your, Estus, if you will, every time you sit down at a bonfire, but you're also refreshing your special Covenant items. So in the Wood Wraiths, I had these throwing daggers that could poison a target. I had 25 of those, so I just had one stack, basically. And then I had 2 buffs that I could put on my weapon, both of which just applied poison damage. So not only did I have the Covenant's special healing item, I believe at the end game I had 9 of them, because of turning in quests for the Covenant leader, and also unlocking additional potion slots in the skill tree. But by the end game, I also had a couple weapon buffs and 25 of those little throwing daggers. So pretty cool, right? So Covenants in this game kind of allow you to have more consumable items at your disposal, and they refresh every time you sit down at a bonfire, which I thought was just a really nice touch. But this Bloodborne Covenant here, admittedly, I don't really know what these... I think it's like Vial of or Flask of Suffering or something. I'm not sure if I've scrolled over it yet. I don't think I've used any. But basically I have, in the place of the throwing daggers and the poison weapon buff, I have an arcane damage weapon buff. I just have one of them because I'm not fully ranked up in this Covenant yet. And I have, I believe, 6 of these little vials or flasks of suffering. And as far as I can tell, when you throw those at an enemy, it'll put this debuff on them. I'm not really sure how long it lasts, but I'm fairly certain it allows you to hit things significantly harder. as you will see here coming up in this upcoming boss fight. I don't do too shabby. I don't do too shabby at all. I can tell you, my first time coming through here, I got absolutely destroyed by this boss. It took me probably about 10 or so attempts to get past him. And I was, you know, a little nervous going into this because I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I remember the attacks that I need to avoid. But yeah, as it turned out, I did okay, right? I ended up remembering everything pretty accurately for the most part, but I did end up making a few mistakes. Anyway, yeah, but as you can see here, I'm just absolutely chunking his health with these attacks. I'm going to poison him here as well with my offhand dagger. But yeah, let me go ahead and briefly talk a little bit about Bloodborne here. I did have a couple Bloodborne videos that I planned on releasing in between now and Dark Souls 3, one of which to kind of wrap everything up for Bloodborne and move on to the new Souls game. But honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more Bloodborne in between now and Dark Souls 3. I'll probably just be chilling. The content on the channel is going to be probably some one-offs, if not just straight up Salt and Sanctuary in between now and then. We'll see. But I really just don't plan on doing Bloodborne. Like the whole... It's really weird what's going on right now. I'm not going to rant about this or anything. I'm certainly not going to... I've seen a little bit of Dark Souls 3, but I've been trying to stay away from spoilers along with some other people. I have seen some things here and there in regards to matchmaking and whatnot. But aside from that, I've only seen, you know, a few levels, a few different enemy designs, some weapons. So I'm not going to be talking about any of that, obviously. I've been trying to stay away from that myself. But it is really strange to have so many people playing through the game in its entirety already, not just on the Japanese release, but with this whole Xbox One leak thing as well. It's been a mess, in my opinion. I knew that there were going to be a lot of people playing the Japanese version ahead of time, you know, ahead of the international release, almost a full month ahead, which, with the type of international following the Souls games have now, it was already going to be pretty weird having that happen. But it's really a mess now. But I'm really just trying I'm not trying to think about it too much. I'm still hoping for the best come April 12th. I do know that there's a lot of people still that are just absolutely saving themselves for April 12th. And, you know, normally, because I'm more of a PvP-minded player, I'm not as sensitive to being spoiled on, like, boss mechanics, boss design, and stuff like that. But this time around, you know, I thought I really want to go into this as blind as possible. Especially with just how early so many people were getting to play, and you know, I really didn't want to be involved with any of that, you know, playing the Japanese version. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Having to wait a whole month, man, for Dark Souls 3, basically a whole month, is some tough shit right there. I mean, for those of us who are really invested in the series and, you know, have either invested lots of time as a player or as a content creator or both, you know, it's just, it hurts, man. It hurts for the game to be out for so many people, you know, 3 weeks ahead of time. It's a tough little thing to go through. But I'm hoping for the best. And I'll probably just try to stay away from Souls altogether, with the exception of the kind of Souls, you know, type stuff you see here in Salt and Sanctuary. But as you can see there, at the end of the level, I kind of unlocked a few shortcuts. Also, nice little map design nod there to the Souls games. Lots of clever little design choices and shortcuts that you can unlock. And I've gone back here and I can see that I have way too much salt on my hands here, man. I don't know what I'm going to do to finish this build off with. I don't know if I'm going to stop at 100 or what. But on the next episode, we'll get this all sorted out. I'll catch you guys later. Take care.